Okay, so one of my most popular videos, I guess I should say unpopular, was the one talking about do not use silicone on a paper gasket. And of course, you get a lot of people say, well, I'm ASC certified. I do it all the time. I know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, well, the ASC is a joke. And probably the reason that people aren't bringing their leaky cars back to you is because they don't trust you. So, just like every other thing, it's all about application. Now, you don't just put black silicone on everything, right? There's a couple different types. There's a bunch of different types, actually, as a matter of fact. Like, for example, we got black RTV silicone that comes in every single Fel-Pro, thing you get. Like this one right here is water pump for 3.7. Comes with two of them. You don't even need that. But we also have black silicone over here, but this is specifically for automatic transmissions. And so we got this gasket maker here. It's Permatex. It says automatic transmission. So it's not like you just put black on everything or gray on everything. It's all about application. If you're putting a pan on a transmission that doesn't have a gasket, like a 42RE on a Jeep, or something like that, where they always leak because they've been on and off 100 times and nobody knows to actually pound the thing flat so it fits. This is what you use. This is what it comes with from the dealership, where they have to warranty it. If it leaks from the factory and it blows up, they have to pay for it. They're not using this because certain types of fluids have different acidities to them, different pHs, and they don't get along with other types of materials. For example, it's all about marketing. Now, you think Fel-Pro sells a shit ton of this? Yeah, I'm sure that they do. And then you have stuff like 3-bond, right? And you have the A's and stuff up here, but that's not black. I wonder why it's not black. And this 3-bond stuff here, this is more sticky, and it actually stains your fingers when you touch it. So it's not the same. Just because you say you're an expert and you've done it a million times, or you did it in your grandpa's garage 10 years ago and it never leaked, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You've had one experience and you think you're an expert. So let's start over here. 3-bond is used by Chrysler, Nissan, Hyundai. There's a couple other different brands that use it. Now, 3-bond is the brand, and it has a specific type of sealer here, 1207B. All right, now that's not the same as black silicone, even though you can tell by looking at this, it's black silicone. It's not the same type of stuff. This is more like a all-purpose, but it's not all-purpose. They just put it in their container when they sell gaskets because they want to sell gaskets, and if it leaks, they just blame it on you, and they're not going to warranty it. This stuff is used on engines, where you have like a timing cover that comes together, or, some sort of area where there's a very thin squish area. And then we got Aisin stuff up here. Now, this is what they use on the Aisin transmissions, the manual transmissions more specifically, because it has a different reactivity to it. So let's see what else we got here. We got Mopar gasket maker. Now, this is not even silicone at all. This is what pretty much all Chrysler transfer cases come with back to, the 90s. It's a goo. It's kind of dried up there because it's been sitting here with the top off. But this doesn't harden. It stays liquid. This has a very specific application to it, where you have two case halves that come together with zero clearance. Now, you don't put a gigantic 1/4-inch bead around that. You put a very thin amount. When you tighten it down, it squishes down, it fills in all the voids. Same thing here. Now, Honda Bond. Now, we have Honda Bond 4, we have Honda Bond HT, and we have Ultra Flange, which is basically this stuff in a aerosol. But Honda Bond HT are gray silicones, right? Gray. See, we come down here to the gray. Now, why would they use gray versus black? Because this goes on everything, right? That's what Fel-Pro says. It fixes everything. Well, no, that's not true. A lot of the Korean cars use this. The Japanese cars use this. So why did they use this over that? Well, it's all about application. It's about the different types of materials that it's gluing together. If you have magnesium going on aluminum, or magnesium to steel, or steel to aluminum, or there's it comes back to application. There's a very specific reason when you put this stuff, where you put it. And then we have here, this is Mopar stuff. This is actually basically 3-bond. It's basically this stuff, but they just kind of changed the package. Now, I used to have a couple old ones that are all dried up, but it used to have skull and crossbones on it. And then, it said on the back, may cause death. So, does this say may cause death on it? Does it have skulls and crossbones on it, which means toxic? No, because this is made for specific application. You can't just use this when you need this, because, again, it comes from the manufacturer where it has a warranty. So, the gray stuff is usually a little bit thicker when you're putting it on, and it becomes harder, like this stuff. You ever use 3-bond or tried to pull a timing cover off of like a Pentastar or some of the Eco Diesels? You have to basically pry them off to where you're concerned you might break the case, because this stuff is so sticky and tacky. It cures into a glue, basically. This does not, because it's all purpose, right? You use it for everything. So why doesn't Chrysler use this, or use this? Why do they use this? Why does Honda use this when they could just use this? I mean, right? Why don't the manufacturers just get a contract with Velcro? They'd probably save millions, right? And then so we come back over here and we got this. These are all the same. Some of these are older, but see, we have orange. It's orange, right? And it's got the danger toxic, and it's even got corrosive on it, which that's weird, because the Velcro stuff doesn't have corrosive on it, and it's orange, right? It's orange silicone, so it's got to be used for everything, right? High temperature. This stuff right here is specifically formulated to use on gear oils, 7590, 75140, stuff where they have a additive in it to where it becomes extremely acidic. I mean, why don't they just use this, right? Who would have thunk it? Did you know, fun fact, if you take this and mix it with this, it'll actually start smoking. It won't actually catch on fire, but it's exothermic. Why do you think that is? Why would it react? Well, because there's certain types of chemicals in it, because it's for a specific application, right? Okay, we're getting to a pattern here. And then let's see what else we got here. We have a Acousti Seal, which is a goo that dries. Now, what is this for? Oh, exhaust system sealing compound. Oh, it's for exhaust, but I thought Velcro orange high temperature was for exhaust. No, it's not, because it doesn't actually take the heat. It burns. This stuff is more like mastic. When it dries, it turns into a hard igneous rock, and it doesn't actually burn. This is for exhaust applications, not high temp silicone, because you're saying, oh, I got my 454 and I glued my manifolds on high temp and it sealed it. No, it didn't. It's going to leak, guarantee you. And then you're going to say, well, you don't know what you're talking about, because I've done it 3 or 4 times and they've never came back. Well, I'm sure that certain situations and certain applications that it's fine, but for the most part, if you have to put your sticker on it, push them down the warranty, where you have to fix it for free, you're going to use the right stuff, right? And then let's see, what else do we got here? We got liquid electrical tape, which is a seals and protects, and we have electrical tape. But why would you use liquid over regular tape? Because, again, it's all about application. In certain situations, you have to use this versus that. See, application. And then we have some thread sealers here. We got good old Teflon tape. Everybody knows what that is. And then we have some Permatex thread sealant. But why don't we just put black RTV on it? Or we could put black RTV on the electrical stuff, right? Because, this is for everything. Why did they make this? This is for sealing bolts. Like, say, for example, you got an old small block or big block where the bolts for the water pump go through the timing cover and into the engine. Most of those water passages are actually drilled into it, and you have to use a thread sealant. Now, if you ever worked on a Ford, you know that pretty much every single time the bolts will snap off in the engine. It's because they used an older type of sealant, not this new stuff. So why don't you just use this, right? Because it's all about the application. Yeah, my alarm's going off. Hang on. Okay. Okay, so then we come over here to see, we got some Permatex, more Permatex. Let's see, we have what is this? Sleeve retainer, and then we have some Loctite, basically, blue and red. And then, we have some other thread sealant, right? Thread sealant. thread sealant. We all know what Loctite does, right? Especially the red stuff. So why don't you use this in place of that, right? It seals the threads, but yet it's an application. Now we all know that this holds things in place. This seals the threads. This doesn't hold for shit. This holds. See? Different applications. And then we got even some more cooler stuff over here. So we have high-tack spray a gasket sealant. Okay? This is not the same as this. Now, why would you use this over this? Because this is for a different application. See the trend coming here? This stuff right here is aviation sealer. You can see it's almost a brown goo, just like this. I wonder if there's a pattern there. This is for paper gaskets. Now think back to like the 50s and the 40s, and you know, back then before RTV was marketed by their expert marketing teams, by Felpro mostly, so they could sell products. This is for paper gaskets. This is for different types of applications where you have, you know, like rubber seals that come together in joints or other types of paper, but we'll get to that. And then we have copper anti-seize lubricant, which was used as a sealer a long time ago too, but many people don't know that because just like, you know, everybody else, they think that Felpro Black RTV silicone is for every single application, but it's not. So just looking here, you know, see, I mean, these are all the same, but we have different applications for the same type of thing. And, you know, I mean, even like, let's look at this. So we got Felpro. This is a timing cover kit right here. So we have a water pump gasket. We have a thermostat seal right there, and the other two seals for the timing cover. And then this one's for the oil pickup thing. And then we have black RTV silicone. That's for sealing the timing cover actually to the block, because there's no gasket there, right? There's no rubber gasket. There's no physical connection between three different surfaces. Surface, sealer, gasket, sealer, surface. No, it's a direct two metal pieces bolted together. That's where you use this. That's where this stuff and 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 this stuff are for. They are for that. You don't put silicone or any other type of sealer on these seals, because the seal is what seals it. Now, some of you probably don't know that Felpro was actually the one that designed this new Viton rubber stuff here and revolutionized the gasket venue, I guess. And that's where they got their big name, was, you know, from this type of stuff. It used to be paper for everything. Cork was a big one. Some of you guys probably don't even know that cork gaskets even exist. That's what they had back in the day when they used this stuff. See, different application. Let's see, what do we got here? We have another front seal kit for probably a 4.7, be my guess. See, more Felpro crap, Viton seals. Let's see, we got some intake stuff. We got a front shaft seal. See, none of this stuff takes sealer because the gasket is the sealer. And then we got a Pentastar 3.6 water pump gasket, which is steel, and it has this impregnated rubber in here, right? It uses no sealer because the gasket is the gasket. Okay, now we have a Hemi timing cover. See here, this is where it goes through the timing cover, and this is where the oil pan surface meets. You do put sealer where these two surfaces meet. 3-bond or the stuff that causes death. Usually what I use, or some gray, one of those 2 or 3. And then see what else we got here. We got some more intake seals. You know, the seal is the seal. You don't use sealer on that. And then we got some valve cover gaskets here. You know, don't put sealer on that. Water pump. And then we got some exhaust, stainless. See, these ones are actually cool because they got graphite on one side that squishes down, and then it's stainless stamped on the other side. 2 layers, you know, multi-layer seal. You don't use sealer on that. So, like I said, you know, in case you haven't observed, it is all about application. Let's talk about this stuff and this stuff here real quick. So if we come over here to the old Amazons and we look at the screen, see, we can search for gasket paper, and you know, this comes up here. Felpro, just a little sample, it's $8. Now see, we got cork, then we have blue paper, more cork, and then we have this brownish paper. So if we look a little bit closer, this Felpro stuff is actually silicone impregnated. That's why it's blue. It's special. Felpro came up with this. It's one of their claims to fame. Now, the thing about silicone is that a clean surface, it will stick to anything except more silicone. Go ahead, go ask an engineer. So in this situation, you basically just use the gasket by itself because it's silicone impregnated. When you squish it down, it basically cures it, for lack of a better term. Now, in this application, you can use high tack to get it to stick, because sometimes these are, it comes in a roll and it's hard to get it to stay. So you use high tack, let it dry, and then that will allow it to seal that way. And then so we come over here, we just got, brown paper. I mean, it's basically, I've used Coke can cases, just, stuff like this. This works too. You use aviation sealer on this. So this stuff you don't use silicone on either. You use aviation sealer, or you use high tack. In certain situations you can use gray, but it's all about application, right? So when you put certain things together, they don't react right. Over time, the heat turns them acidic. They can actually eat and break each other down. That's why it's important to understand application. And then see if we can, let's just kind of scroll through here for a minute. See, we just got high temperature gasket material, fiber gasket material. See different part numbers. All of these gaskets are for different applications. So cork is another one. So back in the day, like valve cover gaskets, a lot of intake stuff was all cork. Transmission gaskets sometimes still come with cork. Now, you use either nothing on it, or you take the cork and you soak it in water until it swells up, then you put it on. That's kind of lost to time too. The other thing you use on these is high tack or aviation sealer, because the silicone does not bond perfectly with the surface. It bonds to it, and then as it expands and contracts, it actually pulls it, because it doesn't expand and contract at the same rate. So it actually tears the piece. Imagine it like a layer. It's sandwiched. You got a bunch of layers of cork, you put silicone on it, and it doesn't expand and contract the same rate, so it shears off and it rubs. It causes leaks. So it's all about application. So for everybody who says that, they've been doing this for 20 years and they haven't had a problem, good for you. But there is an application for every single thing.